Jenna, raise your hand.
Jennifer, AP. Clint said earlier that his championship chances are done, and from here he just wants to be a good teammate and help you and Kevin going forward. One of you guys win the title. What can he do as a teammate to help you, the other two teams?
The same thing that we can do to help him, and that is when you learn something, explain, hey, here's what I learned. Clint's really good about every race weekend. Clint comes and seeks me out. Hey man, I did this. It helped my car. I drove the corner differently here, and just that communication. That communication is what makes us better. The cool thing about our program is that we're all three, fairly equal talent levels, but we all go about it a different way, and I think that makes us all better. So Clint, being able to just continue to push us. I mean, that's what's important. In the same way that we can help him. I mean, yeah, they have a really tall mountain to climb, obviously. And it would be historic for them to win the championship at this point. But, they don't need to quit. They need to go about it as if they have a chance to win the championship. And if they do that, that'll help us too. And we got to do the same for them.
Can you raise your hand?
It's not about, be clear, it's not about them changing what they're doing. They need to continue what they're doing, which is what's got us in this position.
Go ahead, Kenny.
Kenny Bruce, SingDaily.com. Jeff, because teams only race here once a year, is it any more difficult for you guys when you get here on Friday to get what you need in the car by the race on Sunday?
I think it is. And, the problem I have, and I'm not afraid to admit it, like last week, I had an engineer come to me and want to talk about Kansas and what I deal with the car. And I'm like, wait a minute, dude, I don't even know what the track looks like. This track's 9 years old, 10 years old. It's not really new, but in my eyes, I don't even remember the racetrack. Darlington and Darlington, Charlotte, Martinsville, those tracks. Here, I mean, I literally, sat down yesterday for hours and watched video to remind myself about the racetrack. And I've just had a hard time getting this one stuck in my head about, how to drive this track. So yeah, I think it is a challenge. I think it's hard to come here once a year. It's hard to get up to speed, not necessarily get up to speed quickly, but to remember all the little small things that make the big difference. And really, that's what the race is all about. It's doing the small things better. And when you start fine-tuning little things, that's when you get optimal. And it's hard to do that at a track that you don't go to as much as other places.
Shannon, raise your hand.
Jeff, Shannon Spake, ESPN. Jimmy Johnson and the 48 team had their summer months where they kind of fell off and everyone was asking what was going on with the 48 team. And the chase starts, they go out last weekend and do what they did. How do you think just that dominating performance has affected some of the other drivers in the chase, especially some of the guys who are hopeful that this could be the year that they win a championship?
Well, listen, you got part of your facts wrong. They started the championship off with a 24th or 25th. And at this time last week, we were talking about them. Well, y'all were talking about them not being able to win. Remember, you guys are really reactionary. I mean, y'all react really quickly. Anybody that believed that the 48 wasn't a threat coming to this championship has blinders on. Now, I was the first one to say that I didn't know who the favorite was, and I still don't today. If you look at the 11, obviously they looked really good at New Hampshire. Didn't look so great last week, which is exactly what happened to the 48, only opposite with the racetracks. I don't know who the favorite is, but I do know that the 48 is capable of turning it up. And, one race doesn't win a championship. It takes 10. But, there's no question that they're going to be a factor. And anyone that believed that they weren't going to be a factor was, hadn't been watching. Because I said this a few weeks ago, we tend to change history. They didn't go into the last four chases winning all the races and on a hot streak every time. They didn't. And we tend to think that, well, they just dominated the last 4 years. Well, that's not the way it's been. And they've dominated the chases. They've done a better job during the chase, but they've come into several of these chases not being the hot team. So there's no question they know how to turn it up, and I believe that they were a threat to begin with. Well, I think if you start chasing them, you're making a major mistake. I think you got to chase yourself. Of course, here's a guy who's never won a championship. But I know that if we do our job and we do the best we can do, then that's all we can do. And we've got to optimize who we are. We got to be the best that we can be. And and I can't worry about whether the 48 or the 11 or the 17, whether they're going to be the best they can be or not. I can't control that. All I can try to do is control being the best we can be.
Pedley, raise your hand. You have the last question.
You sleepy?
Yeah, Jim Pedley with RacingToday.com. Jeff, the sport left New Hampshire on a bit of a high. Great racing, a fresh winter and things like that. And then since then, all we've had is 2 weeks' worth of penalties and appeals and things like that. How do you think that affects the sport, its fan base, attendance, and things like that?
Well, I think the more we can keep the action on the track, the better we are. I think that, drivers going at each other, racing hard, disputes about the race, and I think all that's cool. I think that's what, it's part of the sport. I think the more we can keep the business things and conflict post-race, pre-race, the more we can keep that to a minimum, the better. The action, people want to see the action, in racing and practice. The on-track stuff is what I think the fans want to see. And I think that anytime the authority has to make a decision, it opens the door for people to question, what is, because people always question authority, right? Everybody thinks the man's always trying to get you. And the more that NASCAR doesn't have to do that, I think the better the sport is.
Thank you, Jeff. Good luck this weekend. Kevin Harvick is here.
Y'all got a little RCR.